My mother, herself, declared. I wish you were never born. I stood strong and retorted. See me as if I'd never been. Live your lives as though a daughter named Mia never existed. Silence dropped. The whole party stood still. What if the people who are supposed to love you most wish you were never born? That's exactly what my own mother told me, right at my medical school graduation dinner. And that moment of betrayal set off a chain of events that nearly destroyed my entire life. I was standing there, champagne glass trembling in my hand, basking in the glow of finishing medical school, when her voice cut through the celebration like a blade. Honestly, Mia, we wish you were never born. The entire restaurant went silent. Can you imagine? 27 years of being the family disappointment, crystallized in that single, brutal moment. My father, Gerald, just nodded in agreement. My brothers, Tyler and Brandon, smirked. I slowly set down my glass. I looked at each of them, and then I said the words that would change everything. Consider me as if I never existed. Live your lives as though there was never a daughter named Mia. The table remained frozen. I could hear the faint clink of silverware from the kitchen, the soft jazz playing in the background, but all I really heard was my own heart pounding a frantic rhythm in my ears. My Aunt Susan's fork clattered against her plate. My cousin Emma's eyes were wide with shock. Uncle Frank looked between my mother and me like he was watching a car accident in slow motion. My mother, Barbara, let out this dismissive laugh, one I'd heard 1,000 times before. Don't be dramatic, Mia. Sit down. She waved her hand like she was shooing away a fly, like my entire existence was just an inconvenience she could brush off. But I didn't sit down. I stood there, feeling something profound shift inside me. All those years of being compared to Tyler, the golden child, the corporate lawyer who made partner at 32. Brandon, the tech genius who started his own company and sold it for millions. And then there was me. Mia, the one who chose medicine instead of law or business. The one who worked 3 jobs through college, who took out loans while my brothers got family money, who graduated with honors but somehow never quite measured up. My father, Gerald, stood up then, his face red, that vein in his temple throbbing the way it always did when he was about to lecture me. You're being ungrateful, Mia. After everything we've done for you. I almost laughed. Everything they'd done for me? They hadn't paid a single dollar toward my education. I'd worked myself to exhaustion, lived on ramen noodles and coffee, studied until 3 a.m. while working hospital shifts, all on my own. But somehow, in their minds, they'd supported me. Barbara crossed her arms. We told you to join Tyler's firm. You could have had a steady job, good money, respect. But no, you had to do things your way. Always so difficult. Brandon leaned back in his chair, that smug expression he'd perfected over the years plastered on his face. Face it, Mia. You've always been the charity case of this family. We all had to pick up your slack. That's when something inside me just broke. Or maybe it healed. I'm still not sure which. I reached up and unclasped the family heirloom necklace that hung around my neck. My grandmother Dorothy had given it to me when I graduated college, even though my mother had said it should go to a more deserving grandchild. The gold felt cool in my palm. I placed it carefully on the white tablecloth, right next to my untouched dinner. Then I took off the bracelet my father had given me for college graduation. The inscription read, "To our daughter." I set it next to the necklace. What are you doing? Barbara's voice had an edge now, a tremor of fear mixed with her usual anger. I looked at each of them. Tyler in his expensive suit, Brandon with his designer watch, my parents in their country club finest. And I felt nothing but utter clarity. You said you wish I was never born, I told them, my voice surprisingly steady. I'm granting your wish. As of this moment, you have no daughter named Mia. I don't exist to you. Live your lives exactly as you want, without me in them. My friend Amanda grabbed my arm, her eyes pleading. Mia, wait! I squeezed her hand. I'm okay, I promised. And the strange thing was I meant it. I walked out of that restaurant without looking back. I didn't run. I didn't cry. I just walked, one foot in front of the other, past tables of shocked diners, past the hostess stand, and out into the cool evening air. My car was parked 3 blocks away. I made it all the way there before my hand started shaking, so hard I could barely get the key in the ignition. I drove to my apartment, this tiny studio I just signed a lease on 3 weeks prior. My residency was supposed to start in 3 weeks at Memorial Hospital. Everything was planned out. Everything was finally coming together. I sat on my second-hand couch and pulled out my phone. I blocked my mother's number, then my father's, then Tyler's and Brandon's. I went through my social media and blocked them there too. Then I opened my email and typed out one message to all 4 of them. You said you wish I was never born. Your wish is granted. I no longer exist to you. Do not contact me. Do not reach out. We are done. I hit send. And for the first time in my entire life, I felt this incredible weight lift off my shoulders. I actually smiled. I felt free. That feeling lasted exactly 4 hours. My phone started buzzing. Not from them, they were blocked, but from everyone else. Aunt Susan called twice. Cousin Emma sent 7 text messages. Uncle Frank left a voicemail. Extended family members I hadn't heard from in years suddenly had my number. The messages were all variations of the same thing. What happened? Your mother is so upset. Can we talk? Family shouldn't fight like this. But then Grandma Dorothy called. She was 81 and sharper than most people half her age. Mia, sweetheart, she said, her voice gentle but firm. I heard what happened. Good for you. I almost dropped the phone. What? I said, good for you, she repeated, a hint of steel in her tone. I've watched your mother treat you like garbage your whole life. About time someone stood up to her. Are you okay? I started crying then. Real, ugly crying. I think so, Grandma. You call me if you need anything. Anything at all. I mean it. We talked for an hour. She told me she'd already called Barbara and told her she was ashamed of her. That made me feel a little better, a little less alone. But then my friend Amanda texted me. Mia, your mom is trying to reach you through me. She sent me a message to give you. Do you want to hear it? What does it say? She says, if you don't apologize and come back, there will be consequences. I stared at that text for a long time. An apology, not remorse. A threat. Consequences. I texted back. Tell her I said no. And Amanda, please don't pass along any more messages from her. I won't. I'm here if you need me. Love you. I turned off my phone and went to bed. For the first time in months, I slept through the night without nightmares about disappointing my family. 3 days later, I woke up to an email notification on my laptop. The sender was Dr. Patricia Hartley, the residency director at Memorial Hospital. The subject line read, Urgent. We need to discuss your residency position. My stomach dropped. My hands went cold. I clicked it open with shaking fingers. Dr. Chen, please contact my office immediately to schedule a meeting before your start date. A matter has come to our attention that requires discussion. Dr. Patricia Hartley. I read it 3 times. Each time that word matter seemed to grow bigger, more ominous. What matter? What could possibly have happened? I'd already completed all my paperwork, passed all my requirements, finished everything I needed to do. I called the office as soon as they opened. The secretary, who'd always been friendly before, sounded cold. Dr. Hartley can see you at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Please be on time. I arrived at Memorial Hospital 45 minutes early. I couldn't help it. My anxiety was through the roof. I sat in my car in the parking lot trying to calm my breathing, going through every possible scenario in my head. Had I made a mistake on my paperwork? Had something gone wrong with my licensing? Had they found a better candidate and were rescinding the offer? The thought that it might be connected to my family flickered through my mind, but I pushed it away. That was paranoid, right? They couldn't possibly reach into my professional life, could they? At exactly 2 o'clock, I walked into Dr. Hartley's office. She was a woman in her late 50s with gray hair pulled back in a neat bun and sharp eyes that had probably seen everything in her 30 years of medicine. She gestured to the chair across from her desk. Thank you for coming in, Mia. Her voice was professional, but I caught something in it. Concerned? Disappointed? I couldn't tell. Of course. Your email said there was a matter to discuss. She opened a folder on her desk and pulled out several sheets of paper. We received some communications over the past few days that have raised concerns with our administration. My heart started pounding. What kind of communications? Anonymous emails and phone calls to our hospital board. Multiple people have reported concerns about your character, your stability, and your fitness for the pressures of a medical residency. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. What? That's not true. Who said that? Dr. Hartley slid the papers across her desk. These are printouts of the emails we received. They describe an incident at a public dinner where you allegedly had a breakdown. According to these reports, you threw jewelry, violently screamed obscenities at your family members, and stormed out in what witnesses described as an unstable rage. I stared at the words on the page. The graduation dinner. But that wasn't what happened. That wasn't what happened at all. Dr. Hartley, that's not true. None of that is true. My voice was shaking. Yes, there was an incident at my graduation dinner, but it wasn't like that. My family said something incredibly hurtful to me, and I quietly removed some jewelry they'd given me and left. I didn't throw anything. I didn't scream. I just left. She studied my face. Can anyone corroborate your version of events? Yes. My friend Amanda was there. Several of my classmates from medical school were there. At least a dozen witnesses who saw exactly what happened. I was talking fast now, words tumbling over each other. Dr. Hartley, I think my family might be behind these complaints. We had a falling out that night, and I cut off contact with them. I think they're trying to punish me. She was quiet for a long moment. Mia, I want to believe you. Your record up until now has been exemplary. Your professors speak highly of you. Your clinical rotations were outstanding, but I could hear it coming. But the hospital administration is concerned. They're worried about drama, about family instability affecting your performance. Several board members are pushing to rescind your position. I couldn't breathe. My entire career, everything I'd worked for, was crumbling right in front of me. Please, please don't do this. I can prove what really happened. I can have my friends send statements. I can show you that these complaints are false. Dr. Hartley nodded slowly. I've argued for you, Mia. I fought to keep your position. Here's what I was able to negotiate. You can start your residency as planned, but you'll be on probationary status for the first 6 months. Probationary status? What does that mean? It means you'll be watched more closely than other residents. Any complaints, any issues, any incidents at all, and your position will be immediately terminated. No second chances. You'll need to be perfect. It was humiliating. It was unfair. But it was better than losing everything. I understand. Thank you for fighting for me. Document everything, Mia. If what you're saying is true, and your family is behind this, you need to protect yourself. Get those witness statements. File complaints about the false reports. Build your defense. I left her office feeling nauseous. I sat in my car and called Amanda immediately. She answered on the first ring. Mia, what's wrong? You sound terrible. I told her everything. She was furious. That's insane. I'll write a statement right now. I'll get everyone else who was there to write them too. This is absolutely not okay. True to her word, within 2 days, I had detailed written statements from Amanda and 3 other medical school classmates who'd attended the dinner. They all said the same thing. I'd been calm. I'd been quiet. I'd left peacefully. There had been no violence, no screaming, no instability. I submitted everything to the hospital administration with a formal complaint about the false reports. I felt like I was fighting back, like I was taking control. I should have known better. 2 days before my residency was supposed to start, my phone rang. A known number. I answered it anyway. Hello, is this Mia Chen? Yes. Who's calling? This is Ralph Sanders. I'm the landlord of the apartment you're renting on Oak Street. My mouth went dry. Yes. I'm calling to inform you that your lease is being terminated effective immediately. I've already rented the unit to someone else. You have 72 hours to vacate. What? You can't do that. I have a signed lease. I paid first and last month's rent and security deposit. You provided false information on your application. I received a call from your previous landlord saying you were evicted for property damage and unpaid rent. That's fraud, and it voids the lease. That's not true. I've never been evicted. I left my last apartment on good terms. Who called you? I'm not at liberty to say, but the information was very detailed and came from what seemed like a credible source. I've already made my decision. 72 hours, Miss Chen. I'll mail your deposit back once I've inspected for damages." He hung up before I could argue further. I sat on my couch, the one piece of furniture I owned, and tried to process what was happening. Someone had called my landlord with lies. Someone was systematically attacking every part of my life. I was about to start one of the most demanding jobs in medicine, and I was going to be homeless. I called Amanda, who immediately offered me her couch. "You can stay as long as you need. It's not going to be long-term. I just need to find another place, but thank you." I spent the next 2 days apartment hunting between packing up my things. Everything required first month, last month, and deposit. I had the money. I'd been saving carefully for exactly these kinds of expenses during residency. On the day I was supposed to move out, I went to pay for a hotel room for the night while I kept looking. My debit card was declined. I tried again. Declined. I pulled out my credit card. Also declined. I sat in the hotel lobby, my entire life packed into my car outside, and opened my banking app on my phone. Account under review. Access temporarily restricted. Please contact customer service. My hands were shaking, so hard I could barely dial the number. The bank's hold music played in my ear while I sat in that hotel lobby, watching people check in and out, going about their normal lives while mine was falling apart. After 15 minutes, a representative finally answered. "How can I help you today?" "My accounts are frozen, both my checking and savings." "I need to know why." "Let me pull up your account. Can you verify your social security number and date of birth?" I rattled off the information, my voice tight with stress. "I see your account has been flagged for suspicious activity and potential identity theft. The fraud department has placed a temporary hold pending investigation." "Identity theft? I haven't reported any identity theft." "Who reported it?" "I'm not able to see those details, but according to the notes, multiple suspicious transactions were flagged and someone contacted us with concerns. The investigation will take 7 to 10 business days." 7 to 10 days? I need access to my money now. I'm about to be homeless. I'm starting a new job. I have bills to pay. I understand your frustration, but for your protection, we need to complete the investigation. Is there anything else I can help you with today? I wanted to scream. Instead, I said, "No, thank you," and hung up. I checked my wallet. $63 in cash. That was it. That was all I had access to in the world. I had $12,000 in my savings account that I'd scraped together over years of working multiple jobs. Money I needed for rent, for food, for gas, for everything I'd need during residency when I'd be working 80-hour weeks and barely surviving. And I couldn't touch it. My residency started in 2 days. 2 days. I needed professional clothes, a stethoscope, comfortable shoes. I needed a place to live. I needed to eat. And I had $63. I called Amanda again. She answered immediately. "What's wrong now?" "My bank accounts are frozen. Someone reported suspicious activity and identity theft. I can't access my money." "Oh my God, Mia." Okay. My couch is yours. Seriously, for as long as you need it. We'll figure this out." I drove to Amanda's apartment in a daze. She lived in a small 2-bedroom place with her girlfriend, Sarah. They welcomed me in, helped me bring in my boxes, and Amanda made me sit down and eat something while Sarah made up the couch with blankets and pillows. "I feel like such a burden," I said. "You're not," Amanda said, her eyes warm. "You're my friend, and you're going through something awful. Let us help." That night, I filed fraud reports with the bank. I filed a police report about the harassment. I tried to trace who had made the false reports about my accounts, but everything was anonymous, untraceable. Professional. The next morning, my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but something made me answer it. "Mia, it's Tyler." My blood went cold. "How did you get this number?" "That doesn't matter. I'm calling because this has gone on long enough. All of this can go away. I have nothing to say to you. Just listen for a minute. All of this can go away. The problems with your residency, the issues with your apartment, your bank accounts, all of it. Mom and Dad just want an apology." And there it was. Confirmation. They were behind everything. An apology? I laughed, and it sounded bitter even to my own ears. For what? For defending myself? For having boundaries? For embarrassing them in public? For making a scene? They want you to post on social media admitting you were wrong and disrespectful. They want you at Sunday dinner to apologize in front of the extended family. That's it. That's all it takes for this to stop. You're a lawyer, Tyler. You know what you're describing is harassment. Extortion. It's illegal. His voice turned cold. Prove it. All those complaints. Anonymous. The bank freeze. Standard fraud protocol. The landlord. He made his own decision based on information he received. There's nothing connecting any of this to us. I know people at your hospital, Mia. I know people at your bank. I know people everywhere. Our family has connections you can't even imagine. You're making this so much harder than it needs to be. We're family. You'll come crawling back eventually. Why not make it easy on yourself? Something snapped inside me. I'd rather lose everything than give you the satisfaction. Don't ever contact me again. I hung up and immediately blocked the number. Then I sat there shaking, adrenaline coursing through my body. Amanda came out of her bedroom. Who was that? My brother. Confirming what we already knew. They're behind everything. We should go to the police. He's right, though. There's no proof. It's all anonymous, all circumstantial. And he's a lawyer with connections. I'm nobody. You're not nobody, Amanda said, her voice fierce. You're about to be Dr. Mia Chun, and you're going to be amazing. I wanted to believe her. I really did. The next day, I started my residency. I put on the one professional outfit I owned that still looked decent. I wore my old sneakers because I couldn't afford new shoes. I drove to Memorial Hospital on a quarter tank of gas because I couldn't afford to fill up. And despite everything, despite being exhausted and stressed and terrified, I showed up. I did my orientation. I met my fellow residents. I worked my first shift in the emergency department. And I was good. I was really good. The attending physician, Dr. Marcus Reynolds, even pulled me aside to say I'd done excellent work with a difficult patient. For a moment, I felt hope. Maybe I could survive this. Maybe I could push through and come out the other side. During my lunch break, I checked my phone. There was a message from Dr. Hartley's secretary. Dr. Hartley needs to see you in her office immediately. My stomach dropped. I walked to her office on legs that felt like jelly. Dr. Hartley looked exhausted. Mia, I'm sorry. I fought for you. I really did. What happened? The hospital received an anonymous letter this morning. It claims you falsified parts of your medical school application. Specifically, it alleges that you plagiarized data from a research project in your third year. I felt dizzy. That's not true. None of that is true. I know. Or at least I believe you. But the hospital administration has no choice. We have to investigate. And until that investigation is complete, you're suspended from the residency program, effective immediately. Suspended? For how long? I don't know. It could be weeks. It could be longer. I'm so sorry, Mia. I walked out of that hospital in my scrubs, carrying the bag with my street clothes. I got in my car and just sat there. I couldn't cry. I was too shocked to cry. My phone rang. It was the medical school dean's office. They needed to speak with me immediately about serious allegations. And that's when I realized the scope of what my family was doing. They weren't just punishing me. They were erasing me. They were destroying my entire professional life, piece by piece, until there would be nothing left. The drive back to my medical school took 3 hours. 3 hours of highway stretching out in front of me while my mind raced through every worst-case scenario. I'd built my entire life around becoming a doctor. 8 years of college and medical school, thousands of hours of studying, clinical rotations, sleepless nights, $230,000 in student loans. And now someone was trying to take it all away with lies. I pulled into the familiar parking lot of the medical school. I'd graduated from here just 3 weeks ago. I'd walked across that stage with honors. And now I was walking back in as someone under investigation for academic fraud. Dean Margaret Sullivan's office was on the 3rd floor. Her secretary, usually warm and chatty, barely made eye contact with me. She's expecting you. Go right in. Dean Sullivan was a tall woman in her 60s with silver hair and a reputation for being tough but fair. She'd always liked me, had even written one of my recommendation letters for residency. But today, her face was grave as she gestured for me to sit. Mia, thank you for coming on such short notice. I'm sure you can imagine why I needed to see you. The plagiarism allegations. Dean Sullivan, I swear to you there's no truth to them. I would never falsify data or plagiarize anyone's work. Never. She opened a file on her desk. Someone has sent us very detailed allegations. They provided what appeared to be email exchanges between you and a classmate discussing sharing research data inappropriately. The emails are dated from your third year regarding the cardiology research project you worked on with Dr. Torres. Can I see them? She turned the papers around. I scanned the printed emails. They looked real. They had my email address, my classmate Jennifer's email address, timestamps, everything. But I'd never sent these emails. I'd never even had conversations like this with Jennifer. These are forgeries. Someone created fake emails. Dean Sullivan, my brother Brandon runs a tech company. He has the skills to create something like this. Please, you have to believe me. I do believe you, Mia. Or rather, I want to believe you. But you understand, I have to follow protocol. The school must investigate any allegations of academic dishonesty, no matter the source. My hands were shaking. What does that mean for me? It means your status as an alumna is under review. If these allegations are proven true, your degree could be revoked. Until the investigation is complete, you're in a state of limbo. The hospital has already been notified, which I assume you know. I was suspended this morning. I'm sorry. I truly am. But Mia, you need to understand the seriousness of this. Even if we prove these allegations are false, the damage to your reputation has already been done. Your professional references are being contacted. Your colleagues are being interviewed. People are talking. I felt sick. How long will the investigation take? At least 3 weeks, possibly longer. We need to review all of your original research materials, interview your research partners and supervisors, examine the authenticity of these emails. It's a thorough process. 3 weeks. I'm supposed to be in residency right now. Every day I'm not there, I'm falling behind. And even if I'm cleared, who's going to want to hire a resident who's been under investigation for plagiarism? Dean Sullivan's expression softened. I know this is devastating. For what it's worth, Dr. Torres has already volunteered to help with the investigation. He supervised your research, and he's confident he can prove your work was original. That was something, at least. Dr. Richard Torres had been my research mentor for 2 years. He knew my work better than anyone. Thank you. I appreciate you telling me that. I left the medical school feeling hollow. My phone was buzzing constantly. I looked at the notifications, messages from former classmates asking if the rumors were true, emails from medical colleagues I'd worked with expressing concern, even a voicemail from a hospital where I'd interviewed for residency last year, rescinding their standing offer. The rumor mill was working fast. In the medical community, reputations were everything, and mine was being shredded in real time. I drove back to Amanda's apartment. It was early afternoon, and she was at her own residency. Sarah was at work. I had the place to myself. I sat on their couch with my laptop and did something I probably shouldn't have done. I Googled myself. The first result was my professional LinkedIn profile. The second was my medical school graduation announcement. The third was a forum post on a medical student message board. The thread was titled, "Anyone know what happened with Mia Chun?" I clicked it against my better judgment. The comments made my stomach turn. I heard she plagiarized her research thesis. My friends at Memorial said she got suspended from residency on her first day. Didn't she have some kind of breakdown at her graduation dinner? I always thought she was kind of unstable, too intense. People who didn't even know me were discussing my life, my character, my career. And every comment made me sound worse. I closed the laptop and put my head in my hands. For the first time since that dinner, I let myself really cry. Not quiet tears, but the kind of sobbing that shakes your whole body. I cried for the career I was losing, for the reputation being destroyed, for the 8 years of work being erased, for the future I'd planned that was crumbling to dust. When Amanda came home that evening, she found me still on the couch, exhausted from crying. "Oh, Mia." She sat down and pulled me into a hug. "What happened today?" I told her everything. The meeting with Dean Sullivan, the fake emails, the investigation, the online rumors. By the time I finished, she was furious. "This is insane. We need to fight back. We need to expose what they're doing." How? There's no proof they're behind it. And even if there were, who would believe me? I'm just a suspended resident with a family that says I'm unstable. They have money, connections, lawyers. I have nothing. You have the truth, and you have people who love you. My phone rang. It was Grandma Dorothy. I answered, and her voice was warm and concerned. Mia, sweetheart, I heard about what's happening. Frank called me. He's been keeping tabs on your mother. I want you to know I'm on your side. Thanks, Grandma. I'm also going to hire you a lawyer. A good one. Someone who can fight this harassment. I can't ask you to do that. It's too much money. You're not asking. I'm offering. And I don't want to hear any arguments. Barbara is my daughter, but what she's doing is wrong. Someone needs to stop her. For the first time all day, I felt a tiny spark of hope. Within 2 days, I was sitting in the office of Carol Jensen, a sharp-eyed attorney in her 50s who specialized in harassment and defamation cases. Dorothy had hired her and was paying her retainer. Carol listened to my entire story, taking notes. When I finished, she sat back in her chair. This is a clear pattern of harassment. The problem is proving who's behind it. Everything's been done anonymously or through third parties. But we can start building a case. We'll file for a restraining order based on the pattern of behavior. We'll document every incident, and we'll be ready if they slip up and leave evidence. What about the plagiarism investigation? That's trickier. Your medical school has to follow their own process, but I can help you prepare your defense. Do you have any of your original research materials? All of it. I keep backups of everything. Good. We'll need to prove those emails are forgeries. That means getting a tech expert to examine them. I know someone who can help. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I had someone in my corner who knew how to fight back. But then, like everything else in my life lately, things got worse. Carol's investigator discovered that my bank accounts hadn't just been frozen. Before the freeze happened, someone had initiated electronic transfers out of my accounts. Over $9,000 was missing. How is that possible? I didn't authorize any transfers. Someone had your account information and security details. They transferred the money out in small amounts over several days to avoid triggering fraud alerts. Then they reported the suspicious activity themselves to cover their tracks. Can I get it back? You'll need to file fraud claims with the bank, and those take 30 to 60 days to process. 30 to 60 days. I'd be lucky if I had a career left by then. Despite everything, there was one piece of good news. Dr. Torres worked quickly. Within a week, he compiled all of my original research materials, complete with timestamps, drafts, and his own notes from our supervision meetings. He presented it all to Dean Sullivan with a detailed report. The plagiarism allegations were officially dismissed. The fake emails were identified as forgeries. My record at the medical school was cleared. Dean Sullivan called me personally. Mia, I'm so relieved to tell you this. You've been completely exonerated. I'm writing a formal letter to Memorial Hospital defending you and explaining the situation. I should have been ecstatic. Instead, I just felt exhausted. Thank you, Dean Sullivan. I really appreciate everything you've done. But when I called Dr. Hartley at Memorial Hospital, her voice was sad. Mia, I'm so glad the allegations were disproven, and I want you to know I fought for you, but the hospital administration has decided to terminate your residency position. What? Why? I was cleared. I didn't do anything wrong. I know. They know that, too. But they feel that the situation has created too much disruption, too much drama. They're concerned about the hospital's reputation and the potential for ongoing issues. I'm so sorry. They've suggested you reapply next year. Next year? A whole year of my life lost. A year where I'd have to explain to every program why my residency was terminated. A black mark that would follow me forever. I understand. Thank you for trying. I hung up and sat in Amanda's living room, staring at the wall. I'd been cleared of wrongdoing, but I'd still lost everything. My family had won. They destroyed my career without ever leaving a fingerprint. That night, I drove past Amanda's house just to get some air. I noticed a car parked down the street. My parents' car. They were watching me, following me. Even after everything they'd done, they weren't stopping. I took a photo of their car and sent it to Carol Jensen. They're stalking me now. Her response was immediate. Document everything. We're filing for that restraining order tomorrow. But the next morning brought another crisis. I woke up to a call from Carol. Mia, I need to tell you something. Your parents are suing you for defamation and emotional distress. I sat up so fast I got dizzy. They're suing me for what? Carol's voice was calm, but I could hear the anger underneath. They claim that your email cutting them off and the things you've said to extended family members about them constitute defamation. They're saying you've damaged their reputation in the community and caused them emotional distress. They're seeking $50,000. That's insane. I told the truth. I haven't lied about anything. I know. And truth is an absolute defense against defamation. But defending against this lawsuit is going to cost money. Legal fees, court costs, depositions. We're looking at $15,000 to $20,000, even though we'll win. I don't have that kind of money. I don't have any money. Your grandmother is willing to cover it. I already spoke with her this morning. I felt like I was drowning in an ocean of debt and obligation. Dorothy was already paying for my lawyer. Now she'd have to pay to defend me against my own parents. It was humiliating. The lawsuit is scheduled for a hearing in 6 weeks, Carol continued. Your brother Tyler is representing them. Of course he was. Tyler had connections throughout the legal system. This was going to be ugly. I hung up with Carol and looked at the clock. 7:30 in the morning. Amanda had already left for the hospital. Sarah was at work. I was alone in their apartment, unemployed, under investigation, being sued and broke. I got dressed and went outside to my car. I needed to drive somewhere, anywhere, just to clear my head. But when I got to the driveway, my car was gone. I walked up and down the street, thinking maybe I'd parked somewhere else and forgotten. But no, my car was definitely gone. I called the police non-emergency line. I need to report a stolen vehicle. The operator took my information. Actually, ma'am, your vehicle was towed early this morning from that address. It was reported as abandoned. Abandoned. I drove it yesterday. It's registered, insured, everything. You'll need to contact the tow company. They are the ones who made the report. I got the number and called. The tow company wanted $375 to release my car. I had $11 in my wallet. I walked back into Amanda's apartment and just stood there in the living room. I had no car, no money, no job, no career, a lawsuit hanging over my head. And my family was still out there, still attacking, still finding new ways to destroy me. My phone rang. It was Dorothy. Grandma, I can't keep taking your money. This is too much. You're my granddaughter, Mia, and what Barbara is doing is unconscionable. I'm paying for the tow. Give me the number. Grandma, please. Mia, let me help you, please. I have more money than I could ever spend, and I want to use it to protect you. This is important to me. Her voice cracked a little on that last sentence. I realized this wasn't just about me. This was about her seeing her own daughter become a monster and trying to make it right. Okay, I whispered. Thank you. She paid the tow fee, and Amanda drove me to get my car. As we pulled out of the tow yard, I saw my father's car parked down the street. They were watching. They wanted me to know they were watching. Over the next few days, Carol worked on filing a restraining order. We documented every incident of harassment, every false report, every attack on my life. She prepared a comprehensive case. The restraining order hearing was scheduled for the following week. But 3 days before it, I got a call from Uncle Frank. Mia, you need to come to the hospital. Your grandmother had a stroke. Everything stopped. Is she okay? She's stable. She's going to recover, but it was serious. She's at St. Mary's Hospital. I drove there immediately. Dorothy was in the ICU, hooked up to monitors, but awake. When she saw me, she tried to smile. Don't you dare feel guilty about this, she said, her words slightly slurred but understandable. I'm old. These things happen, but I did feel guilty. The stress of everything, the fighting with Barbara, the legal battles, it had all taken a toll on her. I stayed with her for hours. Uncle Frank arrived around dinner time. He pulled me aside in the hallway. Barbara's already making moves, he said quietly. She filed for emergency guardianship of Dorothy this morning. She's claiming Mom is incapacitated and can't make her own decisions. She had a stroke, but she's lucid. She's talking. She's aware. I know, but Barbara is trying to get control of Mom's finances. If she succeeds, that means no more money for your legal defense. I felt like I was going to be sick. Can she do that? She's trying, but I'm contesting it. So are several other family members. We're not going to let her do this. For the next week, my life became a blur of hospital visits, legal meetings, and pure survival. I found a part-time job as a medical consultant for a healthcare company. It wasn't residency, but it paid bills and used my medical knowledge. I started working 40 hours a week while also dealing with lawyers and court dates. The restraining order hearing finally happened. Carol presented all our evidence: the pattern of harassment, the false reports, the surveillance, the financial attacks. The judge listened carefully. Barbara played the victim. She cried on the stand, talking about how much she missed her daughter, how worried she was about me, how she just wanted her family back together. It was a performance worthy of an award. But Carol was better. She presented phone records showing the number of times they tried to contact me after I'd asked them to stop. She showed photos of their car outside Amanda's house. She had Amanda and other witnesses testify about the harassment. The judge granted a temporary restraining order. Barbara and Gerald had to stay 300 feet away from me. They couldn't contact me directly or through third parties. Violation would result in arrest. Barbara lost her composure in the courtroom. She stood up and started yelling about how ungrateful I was, how I destroyed their family, how I'd poisoned everyone against them. The judge threatened her with contempt. It was the first time I'd seen my mother look genuinely unhinged. And I realized something. She wasn't in control anymore. She'd lost control, and that terrified her more than anything. The guardianship petition for Dorothy failed. The doctors confirmed she was competent to make her own decisions. Dorothy recovered well from the stroke and was discharged to a rehabilitation facility. And then something surprising happened. Carol filed a countersuit against my parents for harassment, stalking, and malicious interference with my career and finances. With all the documented evidence, she had a strong case. Tyler quietly withdrew as their lawyer, something about potential ethics violations. Barbara and Gerald had to hire a new attorney, and this one advised them to drop their defamation lawsuit against me. The lawsuit was dismissed. For the first time in months, I could breathe. I still didn't have a residency. I still had massive debt and a damaged reputation. But the active attacks had stopped. The restraining order was in place. The lawsuit was gone. My bank finally finished their fraud investigation and restored most of my stolen money. Not all of it, but enough that I had a cushion again. I kept working at the healthcare consulting job. I started therapy to process everything that had happened. I began the long, slow work of rebuilding my life. And then, 2 months after everything fell apart, I got an email that changed everything. Dear Dr. Chen, I hope this message finds you well. My name is Dr. Sarah Mitchell, and I'm the residency director at Pacific Northwest Medical Center in Seattle. I recently heard about your situation from Dr. Patricia Hartley, who felt terrible about how things ended at Memorial Hospital. She reached out to several of her colleagues advocating on your behalf. After reviewing your record, speaking with your references at medical school, and learning what you've been through, I would like to offer you a position in our residency program starting in 3 months. Please let me know if you're interested in discussing this opportunity. I read the email 3 times. Seattle. All the way across the country. Far from my family. Far from everything I knew. A chance to start completely over. A prestigious program. Maybe even better than Memorial had been. But there was a catch. Residency positions were public record. My family would be able to find out where I was going, and the restraining order was only valid in my current state. I called Amanda immediately. They're offering me a residency in Seattle. That's amazing. Are you going to take it? I don't know. What if they follow me? What if this all starts again? Then you fight back again. But Mia, you can't let them take your dreams away. You've worked too hard. You deserve this. I called Dorothy next. She was back home, recovering well, and her voice was strong. Take it, she said firmly. Take it and don't look back. Barbara can't hurt you anymore. The restraining order, the failed lawsuit. Frank and I watching her every move, she knows she's lost. Go be a doctor, sweetheart. It's what you were meant to do. I thought about it for 2 days, and then I accepted. 2 weeks before I was supposed to move to Seattle, a package arrived at Amanda's apartment. It was addressed to me. No return address. Inside was the family heirloom necklace I'd left on the table at the graduation dinner, and a note in my mother's handwriting. "You always took what wasn't yours. You don't deserve this. You'll fail." I stared at that note for a long time. The old Mia would have been terrified, would have questioned herself, would have wondered if maybe she was right. But I wasn't that person anymore. I'd been through too much. I'd survived too much. I put the necklace back in the box and put it in my storage unit. I didn't need it. I didn't need anything from them. And then I started packing for Seattle. The call came when I was halfway through packing up my life for the move to Seattle. Unknown number again, but something told me to answer. "Mia, this is your Uncle Frank. We need to talk about what's really going on with your mother." I sat down on Amanda's couch, surrounded by boxes. "What do you mean?" "I'm at the airport. I flew in from Portland because I spent time with your grandmother after her stroke, and she told me everything that's been happening to you. So I did some digging. Can we meet? This isn't something I want to discuss over the phone." We met at a coffee shop an hour later. Frank looked older than I remembered, but his eyes were sharp and angry. He ordered us both coffee and sat down across from me. "I need to tell you something, and you're not going to like it, but you deserve to know the truth about why your mother has been so vicious to you." "Okay." He pulled out a folder from his briefcase. "I spent the last few weeks investigating Barbara and Gerald's finances. Called in some favors, asked some questions, looked at some public records. What I found was worse than I expected." He opened the folder and showed me documents, bank statements, credit reports, legal filings. "Your parents are broke, Mia. Not just struggling, completely broke. Gerald's business failed 2 years ago, but they've been hiding it. They're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. They're on the verge of losing their house. They've been living off credit cards and loans from Tyler and Brandon, trying to maintain appearances." I stared at the numbers on the page. It didn't make sense. They'd always seemed so successful, so put together. "I don't understand. What does this have to do with me?" Frank pulled out another document. "This is a copy of Dorothy's will from 5 years ago. She changed it after Barbara tried to manipulate her into giving her money for one of Gerald's failed investments. In the current will, Barbara only gets 20% of the estate. You get 50%. The rest goes to other grandchildren and charities." My hands went cold. "I didn't know that." "Barbara knows. She's known for years, and she's been trying everything to either get Dorothy to change it back or get guardianship so she can control Dorothy's money. Your grandmother is worth about $4 million. Mia, Barbara is desperate." Suddenly, everything made sense. The cruelty at graduation dinner wasn't just about control or disappointment. It was about money. "She wanted me broken," I said slowly. "She wanted me dependent on them, so they could manipulate me." "Exactly. And when you cut them off instead, they panicked. Every attack since then has been calculated to destroy your independence. If you have no career, no money, no support system, you'd have to come back to them. Then they could control you. Maybe even convince you to side with them about Dorothy's will. Or convince Dorothy I'm unstable and shouldn't inherit that too. The plagiarism allegations, the harassment, all of it was designed to make you look unfit. If Dorothy believed you were having a breakdown, she might change the will." I felt sick. They've been systematically trying to destroy me for money. "I'm sorry, Mia. I'm so sorry I didn't see this sooner. I've been on the other side of the country, and Barbara and I haven't been close in years. But when Dorothy had her stroke and told me what was happening, I had to look into it. Does Grandma know about their financial situation?" "She does now. I showed her everything. She's furious. She's talking about cutting Barbara out entirely." Over the next few days, Frank testified in the guardianship case, presenting all his financial research. The judge was not impressed with Barbara's desperation to gain control of her mother's assets while hiding her own financial ruin. The restraining order hearing had already happened, but Frank's information strengthened the case. Barbara and Gerald had to stay away from me. No contact, no third-party messages, 300 feet minimum distance at all times. I watched Barbara in that courtroom, and for the first time, I saw her clearly. Not as my mother, but as a desperate woman who'd gambled everything on maintaining appearances and lost. She'd sacrificed her relationship with her daughter, her integrity, her reputation, all for money she was never going to get. And I felt nothing. Not anger, Not sadness, just relief that it was over. The defamation lawsuit they'd filed against me collapsed under the weight of all the evidence. Carol's countersuit for harassment and malicious interference was so strong that their new lawyer advised them to settle immediately. They dropped their case, agreed to pay my legal fees, and signed documents, agreeing to never contact me again under penalty of additional legal action. Tyler had already withdrawn as their counsel, probably realizing he'd crossed ethical lines by using his legal connections to help them harass me. Word got around the legal community. His reputation took a hit. My bank finally restored all the money that had been stolen from my accounts. The fraud investigation confirmed that someone with inside information had accessed my accounts and transferred money out before freezing them. The bank couldn't prove who, but they restored every dollar and apologized for the delay. Dorothy recovered fully from her stroke. She moved into an assisted living facility that was more like a luxury apartment complex. Somewhere she'd have help if she needed it, but could maintain her independence. She remained sharp and in full control of her affairs, and she was more determined than ever to help me. "I'm giving you a check for $50,000, she said when I visited her. "Don't argue. It's a gift, not a loan. Use it to start your new life in Seattle. Get a nice apartment. Buy what you need. Have a cushion while you settle in." I started to protest, but she held up her hand. "Mia, I'm 81 years old. I have more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. And you know what? Watching you stand up to Barbara, watching you refuse to break, no matter what she threw at you, that's made me prouder than anything else in my life. You're the granddaughter I always hoped you'd be. Strong, principled, brave. Let me help you. It would make me so happy." So I accepted, and it felt like freedom. I found a beautiful 1-bedroom apartment in Seattle near the hospital. I bought new furniture. I got professional clothes for residency. I treated myself to things I'd always considered luxuries, like quality running shoes and a real coffee maker. Amanda threw me a goodbye party. Dorothy came, supported by a walker but smiling. Frank flew in from Portland. Sarah, Amanda's girlfriend, made an incredible dinner. Several friends from medical school showed up. It was small, but it was full of people who genuinely cared about me. "To Mia," Amanda said, raising her glass, "who showed us all what real strength looks like." Everyone cheered, and I felt tears in my eyes. Good tears. This time. I moved to Seattle 2 weeks later. The drive across the country took 4 days, and every mile felt like leaving the past behind. I listened to podcasts and music, stopped at roadside diners, slept in budget hotels. By the time I reached Seattle, I felt lighter than I had in years. Pacific Northwest Medical Center welcomed me with open arms. My new residency director, Dr. Sarah Mitchell, was warm and supportive. My fellow residents were friendly and talented. Nobody knew about my past drama. I was just Dr. Mia Chen, the new resident who transferred from the East Coast. I worked hard, harder than I'd ever worked. 80-hour weeks in the emergency department, learning from incredible attending physicians, treating patients, saving lives. And I loved every exhausting minute of it. For the first time in my life, I felt happy. Genuinely, completely happy. I made friends with my residency cohort. I started dating someone, a nurse named Chris, who was kind and funny and had no idea about my complicated family history. I adopted a dog from a local shelter, a sweet mutt named Charlie, who greeted me every day like I was the best thing in the world. I video called Dorothy every Sunday. I talked to Frank regularly. Amanda visited twice that first year, and we explored Seattle together like tourists. I went to therapy every week to process the trauma of what my family had done. My therapist helped me understand that cutting them off wasn't cruel. It was self-preservation, and that I didn't owe anyone access to my life, not even family. 18 months passed. 18 months of building a new life, a better life. I excelled in my residency program. The attendings loved me. My patient reviews were excellent. I was publishing research again, this time in emergency medicine. Everything I'd worked for was finally happening. And then one day, I got an email from Tyler. Subject: Mom is sick. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. "Mia, I know we're not supposed to contact you, but this is important. Mom has been diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. She's starting treatment next week. She's been asking for you. She says she's sorry for everything that happened and wants to make amends. Dad wanted me to reach out. Please consider coming home to see her. She needs you. Gerald had added a note at the bottom. Please come home. She needs you. We all miss you. I read the email 3 times. I felt my heart rate pick up, that familiar anxiety starting to creep in. The old guilt, the old obligation, the voice in my head saying, but she's your mother. And then I closed the email. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I called Dorothy. Grandma, did you know about Barbara's diagnosis? I did. She called me last week. Mia, I'm sorry she's sick. I truly am. But you need to know something. She's not sorry. She's scared and wants support, but she hasn't changed. She hasn't apologized. She's using this illness to try to guilt you into coming back. How do you know? Because she called me trying to use the cancer diagnosis to get me to change my will. Said she needed financial security for her medical treatments, and that you should understand since you're a doctor. I told her no. I also told her that trying to manipulate me while she's sick was particularly low. I felt that familiar clarity settle over me. The same clarity I'd felt at the graduation dinner when I'd walked away. Thank you for telling me. What are you going to do? What I need to do for myself. I opened my laptop and typed a response to Tyler. I'm sorry to hear about Barbara's illness. I hope she responds well to treatment and makes a full recovery. However, I meant what I said 18 months ago. I don't exist to you. I'm not your daughter, your sister, or your family member anymore. That door was closed permanently when you chose to systematically destroy my life rather than respect my boundaries. Please don't contact me again. I wish you all well, but from a distance. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Then I blocked Tyler's email address. I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. Dorothy called me that night. Barbara called me crying. Said you refused to see her. She's telling everyone you're heartless. I'm okay with that. Let her tell whoever she wants whatever she wants. I'm 3,000 miles away, living my life, and she can't touch me anymore. Good. I'm proud of you, sweetheart. The next few months passed peacefully. I heard through Frank that Barbara's treatment was going well, that she was likely to recover fully. I was glad. I didn't wish her harm, but I also didn't want her in my life. Tyler sent one more email that I didn't open. Then nothing. They finally got the message. 3 years after that graduation dinner, I was standing in front of a mirror in a hotel ballroom, adjusting my name tag. Dr. Mia Chen, emergency medicine specialist. I was attending a national medical conference, about to present research I'd conducted on trauma protocols in emergency departments. My life looked nothing like it had that terrible night. I'd finished my residency with honors, top of my class. Pacific Northwest Medical Center had offered me a fellowship in emergency medicine, which I'd completed. Now I was working as an attending physician in their ED, teaching residents, conducting research, saving lives every day. I had a beautiful apartment with a view of the water. Charlie, now 3 years old, was the best dog I could have asked for. Chris and I had been together for 2 years, and he'd moved in 6 months ago. We were talking about marriage, but there was no rush. Life felt good, stable, and completely mine. I hadn't spoken to Barbara, Gerald, Tyler, or Brandon in 3 years. The restraining order was now permanent. I'd heard through Frank that their financial situation had stabilized somewhat. Barbara had recovered from cancer. Tyler's career had bounced back. Brandon's company was doing okay. They'd moved to a smaller house, but were managing. I felt nothing about any of it. Not relief. Not satisfaction. Not anger. They were strangers to me now. People I used to know in another life. Dorothy, now 84, was still sharp and healthy. We talked every week. She'd updated her will to leave me 60% of her estate and cut Barbara to 10%. She got her inheritance early and all the money I spent on your legal defense, Dorothy had said dryly. Frank and I had grown close. He visited Seattle twice a year, and we'd have long dinners where he'd tell me stories about the family I no longer spoke to. Not gossip, just updates, in case I ever wanted to know. I appreciated that he never pushed me to reconcile. Amanda was thriving in her own career, now finishing up her residency in pediatrics on the East Coast. We visited each other every few months, and she was planning to be my maid of honor whenever Chris and I finally got married. As I stood in that conference ballroom, Waiting to give my presentation, I thought about the scared young woman I'd been 3 years ago. Homeless, broke, career destroyed, family attacking her from every angle. I'd been so sure I'd made a terrible mistake by walking away that night. So sure I'd lost everything. Instead, I'd gained everything. A distant cousin, Emily, approached me in the hallway during a break. She'd been at that graduation dinner. We hadn't spoken since. "Mia! Oh my God, it is you! I've wanted to talk to you for years." "Hi, Emily. I just wanted to say, what you did that night at the restaurant, walking away from Barbara and Gerald, that was the bravest thing I've ever seen. And it changed my life." I was surprised. "How so?" "I was in a toxic relationship with my own parents. Not as bad as yours, but bad enough. Watching you set that boundary, watching you hold it no matter what they threw at you, it inspired me. I got therapy. I set my own boundaries. My life is so much better now. So thank you." She hugged me and walked away, leaving me standing there with tears in my eyes. I'd never thought about my actions affecting anyone else. I'd just been trying to survive, but maybe that was enough. Maybe showing people that you can choose yourself, that you can walk away from toxicity, even when it's family, maybe that mattered. My presentation went beautifully. The research was well received. Afterward, several colleagues approached me with opportunities for collaboration. My career was everything I'd hoped it would be. That evening, I called Dorothy from my hotel room. "How did it go?" she asked. "It was amazing, Grandma. Everything is amazing. You sound happy. Really happy." "I am. I really truly am." "Good. You deserve it, sweetheart. After everything you've been through, you deserve all the happiness in the world." I heard through Frank a few months later that Barbara had been asking about me. Not trying to contact me, just asking if I was okay, if I was happy. Apparently, her cancer scare had made her reflect on her life, and she'd realized what she'd lost. But it was too late. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. And I was okay with that. I'd learned something crucial through all of this. Family isn't just about blood. Family is about who shows up for you, who supports you, who loves you unconditionally. Dorothy, Amanda, Frank, Chris, my colleagues, my friends. They were my family now. They'd chosen me and I'd chosen them. On a quiet Sunday morning, 6 months later, I was sitting in my apartment with Chris and Charlie, drinking coffee and reading the newspaper. My phone rang. "Dorothy." "Morning, Grandma." "Morning, sweetheart. I have some news. Barbara reached out to me yesterday. She wanted me to ask if you'd be willing to talk to her. I told her I'd ask, but that I wouldn't push you either way. I thought about it. I don't want to talk to her. I'm happy, Grandma. I'm finally completely happy, and opening that door again, even a crack, would risk everything I've built." "That's what I thought you'd say. And I think you're right. You don't owe her anything, Mia. Not your time, not your forgiveness, not your presence. You gave her 27 years. That's more than enough. Thank you for understanding. Always, sweetheart. Always." A few weeks later, I was getting ready for work when I caught my reflection in the mirror. I was wearing scrubs, my stethoscope around my neck, my hair pulled back. I looked like exactly what I was, a successful emergency medicine physician at the top of her field. Around my neck was the family heirloom necklace. Dorothy had given it to me permanently after Barbara asked for it back. "It was my mother's," Dorothy had said, "but it should go to someone who represents the best of our family. That's you, Mia." But now it meant something different to me. It wasn't about Barbara's approval or family obligation. It was about Dorothy's love. It was about my own strength. It was a reminder of how far I'd come. I touched the necklace and smiled at my reflection. "You did it," I whispered to myself. "You became exactly who you were meant to be." And I walked out the door to go save lives. Free at last. I learned something profound through all of this. Something I want everyone struggling with toxic family to know. Sometimes the greatest act of love you can give yourself is walking away from people who refuse to love you back. You don't owe anyone access to your life. Not even family. Especially not family who use that relationship to hurt you. Blood doesn't make family. Love, respect, and support do. When you choose yourself, when you set boundaries and hold them no matter what, you make space for real love, real success, and real peace. The people who truly love you will respect your boundaries. The people who weren't really loving you in the first place. It's been almost 4 years now since that graduation dinner. 4 years of building a life on my own terms, of finding family in chosen people rather than assigned ones, of learning that I'm stronger than I ever imagined. I still have hard days. Therapy is ongoing. Trauma doesn't just disappear. But I also have good days. Great days. Days where I wake up grateful for every choice I made, even the scary ones. Especially the scary ones. Because those scary choices, the choice to walk away, the choice to stand alone, the choice to keep fighting when everything seemed lost, those choices saved my life. And if you're listening to this while dealing with your own toxic family, while wondering if you should set boundaries or walk away, while feeling guilty for wanting to choose yourself, I want you to know something. You deserve peace. You deserve respect. You deserve love that doesn't come with conditions and cruelty. And if the people who are supposed to love you can't give you that, you have every right to walk away. It won't be easy. It might be the hardest thing you ever do. But on the other side of that difficulty is freedom, is peace, is a life that's truly yours. And that life is worth fighting for. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to set boundaries with toxic family members? How did you find the courage to choose yourself? What would you say to someone struggling with a similar situation right now? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this story resonated with you, please take a moment to like this video. It helps others who might need to hear this message find it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more stories about overcoming adversity, setting boundaries, and choosing yourself. Don't forget to hit that share button and send this to anyone who might need the reminder that they deserve better. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I know it was long, but these things, the real hard things in life, they don't have simple explanations. They're messy and complicated and painful, but they also lead to growth and strength and freedom. I hope wherever you are in your own journey, whatever battles you're fighting, you know that you're not alone. That your struggle is valid. That choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. Take care of yourselves out there. Set those boundaries. Choose your peace. Build your chosen family. And never, ever let anyone make you feel like you're not enough exactly as you are. Until next time, this is Dr. Mia Chen, reminding you that sometimes the best thing you can do for your family is to remove yourself from it.